Well, I mean, with the food, so then where would you get food if you weren't eating the food from the actual jails?
You can order food from the grocery store.
Okay.
So they take orders. You can get fresh foods. We used to cook it ourselves.
All right.
So,
And your sleeping quarters, I mean, did you have your own cell? Did you share it with a whole lot of people?
initially, we had to share. There's like 21 to 26 people in the cell, sleeping shoulder to shoulder. Eventually, we managed to get a room for foreigners, which is like a private room, and we were only like 9-10 people, so it was a lot more comfortable. The Thai authorities are very accommodating when it comes to foreigners, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay. On the floor, on a mattress, on a bed?
Well, what we did was we sewed some blankets together, so it's about 2-3 inches of blankets, which is still pretty hard, but you kind of got used to it, you know.
You've got a lot of time on your hands when you're in jail. You've got a lot of time to think. You know, someone once said, I read a quote, that the mind can be a very dangerous place to visit on your own. But I know that for you, it was an opportunity to paint, to your whole creative side you really worked on.
Well, strangely enough, you know, I mean, people say you've got time, but I actually kept so busy that
really
there wasn't enough time from 8 o'clock in the morning, which would go through till about 12. Then I'd cook my lunch, which took up about maybe another hour. After that, we'd go for a walk, see what's happening with the general population, because I had my own studio, so which was away from where all the guys used to hang out. And then, I mean, there was always a game of backgammon going, or we'd play football or read. I mean, there was always something to do, you know, so the days went very fast.
Did you think that you were going to be there for the rest of your life? I mean, had you...
Initially I was a little bit shocked, but I was arrested in 94. Then in 1996, it was the King's 50th coronation. My sentence got reduced from 100 years to 40 years. So I thought, wow, this isn't bad. I won't even be here 10 years, you know. So we did get a lot of amnesties over the years. But that was a big one, and then the others were smaller, so that we got less of a reduction. So my sentence went from 40 years to 36, and after that I went to 33, then I went to 28, 24, 21. And December, the last amnesty that we got, I went down to just under 17 years.
So you had served your sentence?
Yeah, so I actually finished my sentence.
And I mean, but keeping an eye, having a great sense of knowing that you were going to get out of it, you were going to move on. Is that what kept you going? What went through your mind every single day? I mean, I hear that you were busy fulfilling, but was there this dream? Were you picturing going back and seeing your family and stepping back onto South African soil?
I think my situation was a little bit different and unique in that I kind of realized that I would have to go through 3 phases of development with my art and also within myself as a person. So for me, it was more a matter of getting rehabilitated. I mean, when I'd reached about 10 years, being very spiritual in that, I had a conversation with God, you know, and he said to me that if I can honestly and sincerely say that if he'd released me tomorrow, if I would stop using drugs. And he said before I answer him, I should really think about it. And I thought about it, and it'd been 10 years, I'd been clean already. And I couldn't honestly say that I wouldn't, because I don't think I was strong enough. So I knew,
really, Shani?
So I said, no, I'm not ready, you know. And it was positive for me. Anyway, and... Excuse me, I'm just getting a little bit emotional. Can I just drink some water?
Please drink some water. It's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. I mean, you talk about, you went to King David. You said that, you know, you were a chazan sometimes during the services. Yeah. You were you are a traditional Jew. And being there, did you on a Friday night think about Shabbat dinner? Did you have that connection? And I want to talk about this relationship that you have with God and how that grew.
I did try to keep Shabbos. Obviously, it was a little bit difficult, but I tried my best. I never used to paint on Shabbos. I wouldn't handle money. I wouldn't gamble, because I mean, we used to gamble a lot. So to the best of my ability, I did try to keep Shabbos. I davened 3 times a day, every day. For the past 10, 12 years. I studied Judaism in prison. I got a lot of books on Judaism. So I try to still uphold our traditions. Pesach, I would get matzah from the rabbi, and every Friday the rabbi would deliver challah for us. So, yeah, we try to keep, keep the tradition.
This conversation with God that happened after 10 years of being in jail, and having that connection, and I can only imagine that kind of connection just grew and grew and grew. Is it coming out of jail and being with your family and friends and being exposed to this world, which is a crazy world that we live in? Have you maintained that bond? Is it something that you have to?
I've definitely maintained it. Actually, when we got out, my first Shabbos, I was invited to a good friend, Ian Melt. We had a Shabbos there. They had about 30 to 50 people for dinner. It was the most incredible Shabbos I've ever had, and I definitely felt God's presence there. So, God's always with me.
Someone has sent through an SMS and said, to me, drug trafficking is like murder. What do you say about this? This is not a judgment, this person has said.
Yeah. I agree. I agree that it's like murder. Because it affects so many lives. I think that's why Thailand has taken such a harsh stance. Murder cases in Thailand don't get as high sentences as we do. So I agree with the caller. I think people who are selling drugs are murdering a lot of people.
101.9 Chaifm. If you have just tuned in, we have Shani Krebs in the studio, and Shani is just talking about his experience in a Thai jail, returning to South Africa and really just evolving and changing. We're going to take a break. If you have any questions, please do call us on 0861 24 24 36. SMS us on 34519. We're going to be talking to Joan Sachs in just a moment, his sister.
You're listening to 101.9 Chai FM.
Well, thank you for staying with us. We have Alexander Shani Krebs in the studio. He was arrested in Bangkok in 1994, the day before the first democratic election in South Africa. He was 34 years old and he spent 18 years in jail. He's returned to South Africa and he's come back a religious man with a close relationship with God. I would say, Shani. I wouldn't want to define, what religious is to you, but certainly a very strong connection, and certainly evolved and you've changed your ways, and you have a very strong message that you've returned with, and we're going to go there. But I have your sister on the line, Joan Sachs. Hi, Joan. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning. Pleasure.
Joan, Shani just talks about how you were a part of this process. You fought tirelessly to get him out of jail. Can you tell us, how were you first contacted? How were you first told that Shani had been arrested?
Well, actually, the morning after he was arrested, I heard it at 3 o'clock in the morning because Thailand are 5 hours ahead of us. And that would have been 8 o'clock there. And I contacted the embassy and I said, my brother is missing. He hasn't arrived home. So they said, what is his name? So I told them and they said, no, he's on the front page of the newspapers. He's been arrested for drug smuggling.
And your response when you heard that?
Well, I was absolutely devastated. But in South Africa, you do a crime, you get an attorney, and you get off. So I thought, in a way, well, this is shocking news about this, but I'll get a good attorney, and I never knowing that it's so difficult to do that because you're not allowed to get an attorney out of Thailand. So it was tough because we had to use an attorney from Thailand.
And Shani was just talking about the whole system that you have to appear in court 8 times, and with the life sentence and whether he was going to plead guilty or innocent. Were you a huge part of that whole process?
I was all along, but for this, I decided to go for the sentencing, which was very traumatic because I saw him shackled, standing on like a stage thing in the court, and the lady with me was Thai from the embassy, so she could translate what was going on because everything was done in Thai. And she said he's got the death penalty, but he's pleaded guilty, so it's commuted to 100 years. And I thought, oh my God, 100 years! And he was so brave. I tell you. He was amazing. He was so brave. He didn't show any emotion.
It must have felt like a nightmare, Joan.
It was. It was.
But you never gave up. You wrote letters. You literally fought tirelessly during this time, always wanting your brother released. Tell us about this whole process that's happened over the last 18 years.
Look, it was mostly, I was mostly, trying to get to high up people in government. And it's not, so what you know, it's who you know. And there have been some very good people who took me, who actually managed to get a letter from Mandela supporting my brother's pardon. And I managed to see one or two people high up. But it didn't help because our government has got a very strict stance on the fact that they will not support their nationals who are arrested in foreign countries. They won't. So it was really fighting a losing battle. And after about 10 years, I realized that I'm actually, not going to be getting anywhere. But I did never stop. I kept meeting with people. People are really good out there, and people did try to help.
Joan, I mean, when Shani returned, I mean, the whole build up to that, I know that you went out and you bought him an iPad and you wanted to get him a cell phone, and because he could only imagine from being in a jail, in a Thai prison for 18 years and then returning to a brand new South Africa with a brand new government, a brand new way of living and technology, which, I mean, I'm going to talk to Shani about that just now. I just think that the way he uses, this new technology is fantastic. But you went and you hired a limousine. What did you want his first experience back in South Africa to be like?
Actually, we didn't in the end hire the limousine.
Oh, you didn't?
We got a Vito, a Merc Vito. The limousine had not such a nice feel about it. None of us in the family really wanted to do it. So even though we were going to, we changed our minds at the last minute, and we got a Merc Vito. I just wanted him to feel just so special coming back home, and I just wanted to do whatever, and look, the reason why we got the Merc Vito was because we wanted to, as a family, be together on the way back,
of course.
And we were quite a lot of people, so that's why that's why actually the limousine entered my mind, that was going to be like the
could all fit in.
Yeah, we could all fit in. It wasn't really to be like fetching this rock star from the airport type of thing. It wasn't that kind of thing. Just so that we could all be together. And then somebody said to me, "But you don't need to do that. Get a Merc Vito." So a friend of mine had one, so that's how we did that. And I wanted it just to be a really special day for him to remember, him coming back home.
And when he walked through those doors at the airport,
I cannot describe.
You can't describe that.
I cannot. I mean, my knees actually. Someone was holding me, and my knees were so weak. I mean, it was just incredible to see him, to see that he looked so well.
And your mom, how was she?
She was so strong. She's nearly 88, and she has waited for this day so much.
Wonderful. Well, Joan, I mean, I can only imagine that the last few weeks have been, quite unbelievable for the whole family just getting back together. And you've got so much to do. You've got a whole lifetime to live together.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us this morning on the line and for sharing your side of the story.
Thank you for having us.
Take care, Joan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shani, I've got an SMS here, and it says here, the test is how we embrace such a brave man without prejudice. May Hashem bless you, Shani, for sharing.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Shani, please feel free to call us 0861 24 24 36. SMS us on 34519. We have Alexander Shani Krebs in the studio. And you said that the last year before you were released, you were kind of preparing, you were being prepared. You had this conversation with God 10 years into your sentence, and you were very honest, and you said, I can't honestly say that I will walk away from drugs. At what point did you say, I'm now ready? God, hello?
Yeah.
Are you out there?
Yeah, actually I was calling him up at around the 15-year mark.
Okay.
I was like, hey God, have you forgotten? I'm ready to go now, So anyway, he didn't answer me, but I got out at 18, so I'm really blessed.